want me to clap or anything?
Yeah, just clap.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Jonny Servais, and I am a videographer. Most of my photo video work is technically based in New York and New Jersey, but I mean, right now I'm currently sitting in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I have a lot of stuff I'm doing out here, a lot of stuff I'm doing in Illinois. I tend to bounce around a bunch. Jokingly, me and my friends or like colleagues really have been calling me a nomad, but it kind of turned into that. So I tend to travel a lot. Mostly New York though is where I do most of my work. I've been doing this about 3 years, and the reason I started doing it and my inspiration behind it is because I originally started by making music. I was a singer-songwriter and I just wanted to start promoting myself a lot better and couldn't afford a photographer, quite frankly. So I shot my own music video, did my own photo shoots, and people started hitting me up because they were saying, hey, who's your photographer? And that turned into, I'm the photographer. So other people hit me up for stuff, and I realized it was a lot more fun, more rewarding, and was already paying me more than music. So I just kind of fully converted over, and that's most of my clientele is music videos and just promos and everything I can do for music artists, just because that's where I started, and I am in love with the music industry. So if this is how I can, like, you know, do my role in it, I'll happily take that. I find styles a little bit of everywhere. A quote I heard more recently was, good artists borrow, great artists steal. So I'm always looking at other people's like videos, whether it be music videos or movies. I just try to like add little elements of everything. It's like the same equivalent of like a jazz guitarist joining a metal band. Like if you were to mute to just their instrument, you'd probably hear like a jazz guitar, but you'll know it's all the elements of still rock and metal. So like, I try to do like kind of a similar thing within my own work, in the sense of I've done music videos that were super inspired by Wes Anderson in terms of framing, and if you were to put them side by side, they look nothing alike. So I don't know if I have one individual inspiration, but I know as time goes on, I'm starting to learn my style just from like playing with other people's looks and incorporating it into my own videos. Starting off as a videographer, it was not necessarily easy. It took a lot of cold calls. I mean, I'm still doing that 3 years later. It's a lot of, you know, messaging everyone you know, plus some people you've never met, and just getting connected with them, making networks and making connections, and just, you know, trying to find people who are looking for video work, and hopefully they like your style. Hopefully, you know, they're looking to even do something. I meet a lot of people who are interested in working together, but there's nothing to work on right now. I prefer to have, you know, someone in charge of lighting, someone in charge of like, you know, assistant camera. I've done a couple shoots where I wasn't the director and I just had like, I was just, you know, director of photography then, or cinematographer, or the opposite, you know, like where I was directing and someone else was doing the shooting. So yeah, I love working in teams. I want to have more teamworks in the future, like having a full set, full crew, and being able to just, you know, really take advantage of having all these creative minds in a room. But I'd say there's a lot of shoots where you don't get that luxury. There's a lot of them where, you know, you just show up, you do the best you can, you know, take a $100 project and make it look $10,000 so that you can start having those giant teams. But yeah, no, I've had the luxury of being on a good amount of groups and film crews in my career, but you know, I still get the occasional like, hey, we can only afford you and your camera to come out. My favorite thing to do is probably in between like post-production, like virtual effects and like color grading and like, you know, just seeing the video come together versus the shooting of the project, you know, like just rolling with the punches. And I really do have a lot of fun like in the controlled chaos environment. So like, and that's very much so music videos where you show up to the location and it's nothing like how it sounded and you got to make it look like a Hollywood production. The most emotionally rewarding part of just being a music video director in general is the artist's reaction, you know, because one of the things I always tell myself is I wish I knew someone who could do all this cool stuff when I made music. You know, because there's this weird divide in like videographers where you're either shooting like things for like $100 or $10,000, and there's not many people who are willing to go in the middle. And like, I always wanted that person in the middle because I couldn't afford the $1 million music video, but I wanted to do some cool stuff, and I always felt like if someone just gave me a chance that I'd be able to, you know, do something crazy with it. And I'm glad I'm able to give, you know, local artists, especially when like the underdog artist that I'm working with like just takes, when they see the video and they love what we were able to do and feel like they're able to like pursue the career more realistically because they don't get to look in this lens as much. So yeah, I'd say that's the most emotionally rewarding part, is just helping them to see the vision come to life. And again, I wish someone would have done it for me, so it's a lot more rewarding that I can do it for the underdogs. So I guess anyone who's trying to get started, my first piece of advice, don't worry about your camera. A lot of people think it's funny when I say this, but literally my first few months of like paid jobs, I was shooting on a Samsung Galaxy. Like I literally just took my phone, like granted I was being paid like $20, $30 for the photo shoots or video shoots or whatever, but like I was doing everything off of Samsung, and I just like, it was all about just, you know, angles and lighting and practicing with that. And then, you know, eventually I upgraded, and it was just all about that. But literally just start wherever you're at, and like whatever you're most passionate about, tap into that. For the longest time, I didn't know if I thought I was gonna be a pet photographer at one point. I've thought about, you know, doing like wedding companies, different things. Like there's a lot of routes you could take, but my passion has always been music. And, you know, no matter what, I just always like fell in and out of music videos, even when I tried running away from them. So I, you know, because music videos don't pay the most, but honestly, end of the day, you can't pay me enough to be unhappy. So I'd much rather deal with the stress of, you know, like music artists being rock stars and divas than like dealing with a couple on their wedding day being bridezillas, because granted, I love those days still, but I'm more passionate about music artists and just the grind they go through. And I obviously, like I said, I was there with them at one point, so it makes me happy that I get to help them. But I guess biggest piece of advice, start where you're at, start with what you're passionate in, and the money and the gear will come with it. You just have to stop making the excuses that you don't have enough to start.